y'all, this is Ashley with What's Up Under That. So, I feel like this may sound so weird, but you guys, I feel like I've been under a weight. Wow, stuttering Stanley. I feel like I've been under a radar. And by that, I mean just really allowing myself to learn the lessons, really allowing myself to be present and just embrace all that is around me. You guys know Ramadan ended about a week and a half ago, a week or so, and it was interesting. It was very enlightening. I was, grateful for the opportunity to participate again. I will say, transitioning from going a whole month of pretty much not eating from 5:15 to 5:45 a.m. all the way till 7 in the evening. That's 14. That's 16 hours of not eating. That's reverse. It's reverse. What is that called? It's reverse intermittent fasting, because generally intermittent fasting is, you don't eat in the period of time that you're asleep or whatever. What is it? What's the time frame? I think people usually start eating between 12 and 1 or 1 and 2. They start eating during that time, and around 7 or 8 they stop eating and don't start eating again until the next morning. So that one is generally a little bit more feasible, because the time that your body is resting, the time that your body is spent resting, it's able to repair, digest, and, take care of all the things that it is your body needs. But it's a little bit more challenging when you're not eating all throughout the day and then it comes nighttime. So, I know a lot of people, and especially there's a girl I'm friends with on Instagram, and it was someone else that spoke about, it's not just so much about the fasting, and it isn't. Of course, it's about whether, whatever higher power that you, what's the word I'm looking for? Whatever higher power that you connect yourself to, whether it be Allah, God, or just whomever it is. Of course, it really helps you to learn to keep them at the center of your life. And I feel like that was definitely a very important lesson for me. It made me realize how, I wouldn't say I strayed away from God so much to speak, but there was just a lot of unraveling and a lot of unlearning that I had to do in this. I had to realize, of course, with manifestation and anything like that, a lot of people are aware of how powerful your words are. But I feel like that was the most I was consistent with. It's when it came to prayers and stuff like that, and just really making myself a priority, being mindful and listening to my body more than anything. There were so many times where I was dog tired, and in the past I would have just I would have tried to push through that, and I'm just I already know if I try to push through this, I'm gonna pay for it. Now, I will also disclose this so that it's it's in no way, shape, or form disrespecting anybody's religion or beliefs, because my ancestors were the ones that guided me to participate in Ramadan. There were times that I did take naps, a lot of times actually, because they told me to. And apparently I found out with Ramadan from a Muslim, you're not supposed to take naps. When you're feeling tired, you're supposed to pray and push through it and stuff. And that was one of the things that I definitely did make it a priority when I did pray in the morning, was just praying for strength to get through the day, however that may have looked, whether it's mentally, emotionally, physically, or anything like that. Now that I've like just kind of dove into that, because I decided I really wasn't gonna go deep into how my experience was, because I really wanted to keep that to myself. But something that I did notice, and this is something I've always known, so trigger warning to anybody who's listening: if you have a eating disorder or you have dealt with an eating disorder, I am getting ready to talk about that in the next portion of this episode. So just to let you know, if you don't feel comfortable listening, no hard feelings, you can stop listening right now. But the first couple of days, I'm not gonna lie, I really struggled with transitioning into back eating. Part of it was just, I realized, I would say when it came to me, when I realized that, first off, let me preface it with this. I realized in 2019, 2020, I had an eating disorder. How I found this out was because I had did my first ever water fast, and it by far was probably one of the hardest things that I have ever done. I was very irritable. I was tired. I was hungry. Every time something triggered me, made me angry, sad, or emotional, I was fighting for food. Literally I was fighting for it. I need to eat. I'm ready to break my fast. And that was when I realized, when I started doing research on it, I was just like, this sounds like an eating disorder. Now, this is the thing. Generally, for some people, when they deal with eating disorders, it is only one. It's not, two. And I don't know, I guess somebody would classify it as anorexia, blatantly not eating. But I would say I was more so, if I had to scale it, I was more so on the bulimic side, I think it's called bulimic. Correct me if I'm wrong. I would just always, anytime, any inconvenience, I'm always eating when I'm bored, when I'm full. I am pushing my body past its limits. And, being a Taurus, I have, for a person that loves food, I've had a very odd relationship with food my entire life. A lot of the women in my family have done different diet programs. Some have taken diet pills. It was just, some have spoken to other family members very harshly and without tact about their body. It's just, I would definitely say body image and things of that nature were something that went on in my family. So, subconsciously, I did not have the best example of how to love my body and how to treat it and how to properly take care of it. I didn't really learn any of that till I got older. So, fast forward, now it's been a total of 4.5 years that I have been actively healing and recovering from an eating disorder. And a lot of the times it was hard, it was really hard just trying to get myself to stop eating so much. When I'm full, it's sis, there's nothing else that you can put in your body. You have to stop. And one thing I will definitely say that I learned is, you're going to fall. Sometimes you're going to fall down more times than you will get up. You will definitely fall down more times than you will get up. And because I am the type of person that beats myself up over things, and looking back at me finally reaching my goal, I would definitely say it was very unhealthy. And, I don't condone it. There's a difference between pushing yourself, and there's a difference between beating yourself up to reach a goal. I definitely don't recommend, if you fall, just be like, what happens? Keep moving forward. Or a mantra that I've adapted for some years now is, tomorrow is always a new day. Whenever I have a really, really shitty day, I always tell myself, tomorrow is always a new day. And that's something you have to remember. Now, one thing I would say, fasting for me has been a double-edged sword. It has both hurt me and it has helped me. It has hurt me because at one point in time, I did find myself, like, I had this realization that I was abusing fasting. I was using fasting as an excuse to not eat because I didn't want to gain weight, because I have dealt with, I've dealt with my weight my entire life, like ever since I was probably like in the 5th grade. I have just dealt with weight issues. My weight has been up and down literally since the 5th grade. And, just, realizing that, like I was saying, and just, after realizing that, like, damn, like, this is something you've been dealing with your whole life, particularly with the eating. And it's crazy because I very vividly remember this, on top of being the fat kid for all of my life, dealing with one end of the spectrum of having an eating disorder, of eating too much. Then it was like, I had this PE teacher. I will forever, like, when I tell you guys that this woman's name, anybody that knows me knows I'm not good with names. This woman's name is forever etched in my heart. Her name was Nicolia Stallings. She was my PE teacher in high school, in middle school. I want to say she was my PE teacher for my 7th and 8th grade year. And, it was almost kind of like she was that auntie that I needed. She helped me to build a better relationship. And, y'all, I feel like I'm finna start crying. She helped me to build that foundation, help me build a better relationship with my body, help me really get into exercising, because being in her gym class, all the weight that I had, I lost all that weight being in her gym class. And I want to say that carried into the summertime. So I was able to go into high school not, being looked at or deemed as the fat kid. And I'm not saying that, to be judgmental or hurtful to anybody. Just for me, it was a struggle. Loving myself was a struggle. And it was just like, when I lost weight, I felt like I was able to really see myself. And this was just kind of like, I guess I could say the start of me realizing how much I actually didn't love myself. Like I thought I did. Like, don't get me wrong, I definitely thought I was the shit at that time. I wouldn't say I knew I was the shit. Like, I was confident in my body. I used my body as a canvas. I experimented with different colors and patterns. I experimented with different types of clothing. Like, I would really say I was like a fashionista in high school, the way that I put clothes together and things. So that was me being able to express myself through clothes. First, I'd say my 2 forms of art at that time were, it was writing poetry. So it was like 2 things I had at that time. No, 3. I was doing hair. I was writing poetry, and I was able to like really express myself through my clothing. So those things helped me. So, after freshman year, fast forward to sophomore and junior year, I got a little meat on me, starting to get a little thick, I just did that thing when people push their hair behind their ear, like y'all can really see me. But I had started getting a little thick, I didn't mind it. The weight looked good on me. It wasn't like, oh my God, like I feel like I gotta weigh myself on a scale every 5 minutes, because that was definitely good Lord. It wasn't at that point. I think what year was that? That's sophomore, junior year. So senior year, I had moved to a new state, and that is when the weight started coming back on. I was emotionally eating again. No, let me go back. Let me rewind y'all back to soft freshman year. So this was not lost weight. I was so afraid of gaining all of that weight back that I would eat something and convince myself that I was full. And it's like, looking back, I would say my aunt noticed it. I don't remember. I won't say she won't. I don't remember if she pulled me to the side. I do remember once I had ate a Pop-Tart, literally just one, and I was like, I'm full. And my mom was just like, girl, what? Like, you literally had one Pop-Tart. How are you full? And that was when I realized, looking back, like, damn, I was really struggling. And my aunt noticed it, but I don't really know if we ever went in depth with the conversation. We probably did. But that was when I noticed, like, okay, so it's no longer bulimia. It's like, it's not fully anorexia, but it's also like I'm eating, but I'm also not eating at all. So I would say it was in between those two. Better yet, because y'all know I don't like speaking. And anorexia. What does anorexic mean? Loss of appetite, eating disorder, not eating. Okay, so yeah, that's exactly what it was. I wasn't eating. I would tell myself I'm not hungry, even if I was hungry. And it's like it would backfire. And this is why I said to it the latter of the two, because I wouldn't eat during the day. I wouldn't want anybody to see me eating. And I was so afraid to gain that weight back because I got teased for so long in my childhood. Like, oh my God. Just remembering the shit that it is that people used to call me. And I was like, I don't ever want to go back to that point. Like, I don't want that for myself. So it'll be like, I'm not eating during the day, and as soon as everybody goes to sleep, I'm like scarfing everything down to the point, even if I'm full, I'm still eating. So that was a whole thing. So fast forward back to the move. It was a very depressing move. The guy I was dating at the time, had to leave him. Didn't really have too many people that I knew when we moved to the new state. And on top of that, we moved to a new state, and I found out the guy that I was with had been cheating on me our whole relationship, literally from the very beginning, the 1 month, all the way up until I moved. The girl, whoever it was, made a fake page. They sent me a bunch of pictures, and they told me everything. And to this day, y'all, I still don't know who it is. And that just really, it made me spiral. And I was homeschooled too for my senior year. So I'm just like, it was just a lot going on. But, I made the best of it as much as I could. But I was definitely putting on weight. Can't even deny that. And also too, I would say, even if I had issues with my eating, I would say that period, I navigated that period as best as I could because I was gotten heavily into Pinterest. I was watching YouTube videos. I started learning to play in makeup. And it was like, while I did have an unhealthy relationship with food, I equally had a healthy relationship with food, only because I was into experimenting with so many different things. Like I said, Pinterest was my best friend. So it made me realize, like, damn, I really love to cook. My favorite thing to make at that time was Nutella anything. Nutella cookies, Nutella brownies. The Nutella brownies was a hit. I started really getting into sandwiches, putting different flavors and stuff together, like all different types of things. And so yeah, after that, fast forward, moved back to my home state. I was looking good, before we had moved back. I was going to the gym 3 to 4 times a week every night, working out for an hour, 2 hours. I was eating better, and this time it wasn't like I'm starving myself, And I would say, if I'm really thinking about it, this is when I really started to heal my relationship with food because I was cooking more. I would say the counting calories part was a little bit extreme sometimes, because it wasn't even like how people that would lift weights do like calorie deficits. It wasn't even that. It was just like, I'm gonna stop saying I was doing too much. I did what I felt was best for myself at that time, but it was still a little bit extreme. So, fast forward back in the hometown. I'm excited, I finally healed from that breakup. I've graduated high school. I got a job, I've learned to do makeup. I've gotten better at doing my hair. I've picked up some hobbies. Since I moved, like, I was in a really, really good headspace, mentally and emotionally. And then it came. I ended up in a relationship with my child's father. And over time, it just slowly went downhill from there. He was abusive in every way imaginable, and it really started to chip at my confidence. So what did I do? I found comfort in food again. And it got to the point too, like, because I was never home. I was always either working or I was out. I was just constantly running from my problems. And it's just like, it got to the point when I was eating McDonald's out that time, my go-to meal every time was a McChicken with a large fry and a large orange Hi-C. That was my order every single time. And that's not counting, all the gas station trips, all like, the random trips, like, oh, let's go. I can't remember any of the names of the restaurants. Let's go get a guy roll. Let's go get a pizza puff. Let's get this. Let's get that. And just all these things. And it even got to a point where it was a job I was working. This is how so far out of alignment I was when it came with my purpose. Like, I was drinking Red Bulls. Like, at one point, I was smoking Black and Milds because that relationship was just stressing me the hell out. It was stressing me out. So, that was all that. Fast forward again. Moved states again. And that's when, I had lost weight again. My son, when I was pregnant with my son, I lost like about 20 pounds when I was pregnant with him because I did a lot of walking. And this was really like when my healing journey genuinely started, like in 2015, 2016. Let go of dead weight from that relationship. I had a fresh start, went to massage school and all those things. And it was just like, okay, now I'm not at the point where I'm not keeping myself from eating, but now it's like I'm overeating. So it's still like a balance between you're trying to get there, but you're still so far from it. So fast forward to 2019, 2020, like I said, that was when I realized that I had an eating disorder. And I've been working on healing it ever since, getting into hobbies, doing shadow work, being able to identify when I am emotionally overwhelmed instead of, reaching for food being the first thing that it is I reach for. I'll try to journal about it, or I will try to vent to a friend, or just find something first to calm down my nervous system, because, it's my nervous system that wants some relief, that wants some peace, that wants anything to make it all stop. And this is where I say when I said like fasting was healing for me, because fasting is what made me see that I had an eating disorder for all this time. It also really helped me a lot with shadow work and getting to the bottom of these things. Like, okay, why do you do this? Why, when you get triggered, do you feel that food is the only source of comfort that you have? And as I worked through that, I got back into cooking, experimenting with cooking, finding like my staple dishes. And that was helpful. That helped me really heal my relationship with food. Another thing I will say that helped this Ramadan, because this was my second Ramadan I participated in. Something about this Ramadan was very transformational. It was transformational in a way that I would have never expected it. This time around, since it was my second time doing it, I made it a priority to try my best. I won't say always, because I had times where nothing was meal prepped, but I would break my fast with vegetables and either having tea or drinking water. I started taking my probiotics consistently. I was taking my maca root consistently. I started making it a habit of waking up early in the morning so I can get my day started, even if I have to lay there for 30 minutes or an hour, like I'm still awake. That way when I wake up, I'm not groggy trying to do everything, like my body is fully awake. And just having that time of fasting, I made a promise to myself. I said, when this is over, I'm not going back to my old habits. I'm not just going to sit up and binge on things. I'm not just going to, when my emotions feel elevated, I am going to make use of the tools that I have spent so many years putting into my toolbox. I'm going to make it a priority to use those tools, and I'm going to keep these habits up. I'm going to set goals for myself. I'm going to set boundaries for myself. And, it's been really helpful. Something that I noticed today, and it made me very proud of myself. I was eating, and then out of nowhere, I was like, damn, I'm full. And it was just like, it was partially out of boredom, but partially out of, I think, my nervous system felt unregulated because of whatever reason. I had just got done eating some chips and guacamole and eating like pickled onions and jalapeno peppers or whatever. And I was noticing my body was telling me, you are satisfied. You're not full, but you're satisfied. You don't need to eat anything else. And it was in that moment I was like, I can either cut this bagel in half and make this bagel right now, or I can listen to what my body is telling me. And I stood at the fridge, and I walked off. I was like, I'm satisfied. I don't need to be stuffed. Whatever is going on, I can find a way to redirect my attention to something better. And it was in that moment that I realized, not that, I'm healed, but look at how far I have come. And, I wanted to preface this too in the beginning of the episode. It's not talked about often, Black girls or Black women that deal with eating disorders, because, we love to eat and we love to cook, but there's only so much that people see on the forefront. Everybody doesn't see what goes on behind closed doors. Or if we're out at a restaurant and everybody sees you cleared your plate, they don't know that you were full 45 minutes ago when you kept eating, because you have so much stuff going on in your mind and you just want a sense of peace. You want a sense of something to numb you. And that was also too why I had such a really bad relationship with food, because I was trying to find something to numb me. And it was like, I would say I really started to be aware of how painful overeating became for me. I want to say it was last year or maybe earlier this year, where I would physically be in pain from overeating. And that's when it really hit me, I can't keep doing this. I can't. It hurts. It's too much. When I overeat, I have no energy to do anything. I can't get anything done with my business. I can't get anything done at home. I don't have the energy to really interact with my child. And I'm just like, this is not a life that I want to continue living. And it's I feel like one of the biggest things too that really helped me is I'm just just because it's not spoken upon does not mean it doesn't happen. But there are a lot of men that deal with eating disorders. They just disguise it as gym inspiration, or just being the fat kid when they were younger, and they're the funny kid that's always eating or always has food. And I had to ask myself, even though your son may not verbally understand what you're going through, do you really want him to see what it is that you're doing and form his own ideas and think that this is okay? And I'm just like, I don't want that. And, of course, I do want more children as well. So it's like, is this a habit you want to keep dealing with and fighting when you have a daughter? Do you want your daughter to go through the same thing that you have been going through for decades? And I was just like, no, and even with my son, I had to break out of that habit with him, whether you're black, white, whatever. Some people may agree when your parents, you eat and your parents see that you still have food on the plate and they'll force you to eat it, even though that you're full. So now, that connection from mind to body is being completely severed, because now too, your stomach is stretched. And that was also, like I said too, that was also something that I noticed with Ramadan. My stomach had shrunken so much, I couldn't go back to eating how I used to eat. And quite frankly, I didn't want to, not like so much. Like I kept saying when it was getting close to breaking the fast, I'm going to eat this and this and this and this and this. Y'all, I forgot what I had for my first official done, not the last day of Ramadan, but the day after, what I thought I was going to do. And I'm not going to lie, it backfired on me. I think I had bagels. It was a bagel, and it was some other stuff that I had for breakfast. Like I thought I was finna do a whole little spread, and my body said, baby girl, if you don't pump your brakes. Like I was in so much pain because of how much I had overeaten. And after that, I was like, yeah, I said, this is the last time. We're not doing this anymore. So that's where I've been at now. I'm trying to start getting in the habit of when I wake up, tea or water being the first thing that I drink. Not, of course, because I'm drinking the teas for healing purposes, but because it keeps me, that's water and tea have been my accountability partners. It keeps me from overeating. And it's like, say something happens and I get triggered or whatever, I cannot reach for food, because if I do, I'm going to throw it all back up. Not like I'm making myself do it, but my body is rejecting it. So, yeah, that's been my journey. That's been my experience. And something else I wanted to say is, when you are building up your tools for your toolbox, if you are either dealing with an eating disorder or healing from it, always keep tools that are of use to you, even if you are not at home. Because I think sometimes where we can get lost is we will have all these tools, but the tools are only sustainable when we're at home. And it's like, eating disorder does not have any confines. It does not have walls. That eating disorder goes with you wherever you go. Whether you go to another country, whether you go to a family member's house you haven't seen in a while, whether you go to a restaurant, that eating disorder always goes with you. So my rule of thumb is for those, especially for those who had dealt with anorexia, is I would definitely say, if I had to give advice, learn to cook new meals. Realize if you are anorexic based on society's standards, start being more intentional with how you filter your social media. If you are only seeing fake bodies, it is okay to click unfollow or to click not interested. If you are going to heal that part of you, you have to surround yourself with real bodies, with real people. it is imperative for your healing, especially on TikTok. TikTok is just as bad as Instagram when it comes to it being shown as this curated world that it is that we live in. So those are 2 pieces of advice I would give. Learn to cook new dishes, introducing foods slowly, as best as you can. Another thing I would say that helped me is waist beads. Waist beads for sure have helped me because it gives you this newfound love within yourself. But most of all, the biggest advice I can say is it takes time. Like I said, you're going to fall more times than you get up. Way more times than you get up. Always have a support system. Don't be afraid to let people know, a trusted support system, know what you're going through. Seeing a therapist as well. Don't be afraid if you feel like you and your therapist are not compatible. Do not be afraid to fire your therapist, because I had a therapist in the past that I had to fire. So those are some for anorexia. For bulimia, shadow work. And I would say that too for anorexia. If you've dealt with anorexia, shadow work for sure. With bulimia, shadow work. With bulimia, also waist beads. Same with the tools. Another thing for sure is form a better relationship with liquids. And I say that too because, like I said, one thing that has helped me that I have recently noticed is drinking liquids as soon as I wake up in the morning versus reaching for food. Because if I reach for food first and liquids after, I may not necessarily be able to know my limit. So that has really helped me a lot. Also too, there are certain teas, I don't want to say there are certain teas that may help with fullness. I'm not sure. I think lemon balm for those to deal with anorexia. I think lemon balm helps with appetite if you're not wanting to go like the marijuana route. I think lemon balm helps. If you deal with anorexia, maca root helps as well. You will be horny. But maca root, I want to say in the past, it did help with my appetite. I can't really say now just because of how much my eating has transformed. But definitely that. What else for bulimia? Like I said, once again, shadow work. You have to see and know and understand what it is exactly that you're running from, that you feel food is the only comfort. And for me, it's bad because with me being a Taurus, my comforts were food and sex. Sex got cut out the picture, and the only thing that was left was food. So definitely that. This may sound cliche for bulimia, but coming up with mantras and affirmations for your body. There was an instance recently where I had a friend. I've mentioned her in past podcast episodes. Her name's Taisha Simpson. She did a Psych K session for me. I was like freaking out. There was something on my body that I was just like, I was just like, no, it's not supposed to do this. It's not supposed to do that. Like, I won't give all the details. And she helped me do Psych K with it. And ever since then, I've had a whole new outlook on my body. And I won't say it was like, it was a snap your fingers and overnight thing. It's because that was something that was added on top onto the work that I had already been doing. So now I have a whole different relationship with my body in that way. So also too, seeking out energetic healing modalities. Of course, the same with anorexia. Seeing a therapist, specifically one too that has worked with clients that have eating disorders. Because one thing I have noticed, even for me having ADHD, of course, it's not about excuses. Accountability is also equally important. But You want to make sure that you have somebody that understands, because the worst thing you can do is have somebody that doesn't, and the grace that you needed to be given or needed to learn to give yourself was completely out the window. And that's the last thing that you need healing from an eating disorder, because you criticize yourself enough for overeating or for not eating. You don't need somebody else criticizing you too. You need support, you need comfort, and you need love, but you also need somebody that's real, because I would say in instances, and I won't say that because my friends that I talk to more on a daily basis, they definitely will make sure, like, have you eaten today? Like, are you good? Like, where's your mental at? But have those people in your life. Pray for God to put those people in your life that notice your tank is empty even when you don't. And that's not to say for that to be their responsibility through the entire relationship, but having people around you that notice when your tank is empty. If you're going through a rough patch and you're just constantly eating and eating and eating, having someone that's not afraid to ask you, like, are you okay? Like, I don't mean this in a bad way, but I have noticed that you've been eating a little bit more than usual. Or if you're going through something and you're resorting back to your old ways and you're not eating as a form of gaining a sense of control. Having somebody that will come to your home and cook a meal for you, or say, hey, I noticed that you haven't really been eating. Is there any way I can help you? And if you don't have, if people don't come to you and say that, at least surround yourself with people that you are comfortable saying, hey, I've been in a really bad place mentally. I don't have the strength to cook for myself, and I really don't want to fall back into this old cycle. Do you mind cooking for me? Or like I said, if you are an overeater, like with bulimia, having somebody that will, take your cards away from you, or just do whatever it is to help you and be there for you. Because while I would say I've done this, I've healed from a lot of this with my journey for quite some time alone, because I didn't realize there was anything that needed to be healed or worked on or discovered, or any shadow work that needed to be done. But I have started opening up to friends more than now that I wouldn't say now that I've realized, because like I said, I noticed 4 years ago that I had an eating disorder. But yeah, I hope you guys y'all gotta excuse my voice. My voice went from chipper and all active, and now it's going down because I've been talking for 45 minutes straight with no liquids. So I hope you guys have an amazing evening, day, afternoon, whenever you're listening to this. Per usual, follow me on Spotify. I know you guys may be on other platforms, but like I always say, I can engage with you more on Spotify. So follow me on here. There will be a voice message link if you guys want to leave a voice message. I'll leave a chat box open. I'll ask a question. Probably just to check in, something simple, like on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you today? You don't have to give an explanation. If you don't want to, just drop a number. Keep it pushing. But I hope y'all have an amazing week, and I will talk to you soon. All right, bye.